So tell me about your brother.
Yeah, so this one will probably get a little bit emotional. So I'm the youngest of three boys. Um, Mark is the eldest, and then there's 6 years to Scott, and then 2 years to me. Mark and I, very similar. Um, Good at sport, good at school, always had a girlfriend, always part of, popular, etc., etc. Scott, 2 years older than me, was shorter. He was a bit plump. He's no good at school, no good at sport. Had really thick black hair. Had eyesight wasn't great. Had these thick glasses, but had the most beautiful soul. Scott just had a beautiful, beautiful soul. Couldn't, just wouldn't hurt anyone. And he got bullied a bit, and I would protect him try to protect him. But being 2 years younger, that was difficult because guys were a bit older than me. Anyway, when I was 16, I played first 15 at school, Rockhampton Grammar School in Central Queensland, and we played in a grand final. So, and we went away to this retreat down on the coast, about half an hour from the school, to prepare for this game, which was on a Sunday. And on the Saturday morning, we're down on the beach, and someone said to me, "Kate, your father's here." And I thought, that's odd. Why is he here? So I jogged up and went up these stairs, and Dad was looking out over this sort of fence, and he was looking out to the ocean. And Scott had been in hospital for something that we just thought he'd been in and out for a couple of months. And I went over and I sort of said, "What's going on?" to Dad. And he turned around and he couldn't speak. And he had Mum's glasses on, female glasses, big black glasses. And he took them off and his eyes were red raw. And it was the first time in my life that I understood fully what intuition meant, was that he didn't have to say a word and I just knew. And I said, "It's Scott, isn't it?" And he said, he couldn't speak and he just went like that. And I said, "He's dead, isn't he?" And he went like that. And my whole life just caved in. The foundations of my life just collapsed. At 16-year-old, no 16-year-old is emotionally robust to handle that. And my whole life just collapsed. And we went back, we jumped in a car, we went back into Rockhampton, and Mark, my elder brother, was there, Mum was there. And all I could say is that in that house, it felt like the walls were just dripping with grief and sadness and darkness. It was just horrible. And, I played the game. The next day we won. And the reason I'm telling the story is because chances are every single person is going to experience a degree of grief, right? Your grandparents, if everything goes in a natural order of things, you're going to lose your grandparents, you're going to lose your parents. And hopefully a younger person doesn't die in your life in the short term, because it's horrible. It's the pain. I can't describe the pain I went through at that time, but I recovered in the point. I went on and, did some really good things in rugby and education and, work and I've referred to this before about that spirit that we get up, we are resilient, we're strong. You'll find strength, at times when you think, "I can't go on," but you will. And so, one of my messages I say to my clients these days is, as long as you don't die, you're going to be okay. It's going to be painful, but you will get through it. And another one of my big sayings is, as we sit here today, you have survived 100% of your bad days. So all those days you sit there and go, "I'll never get through this," etc., etc. You do, and you will, although it'll be painful. So I went through life and, I got on with my life. We used to remember Scott quite often and miss him and wish he was still here and wondered what he'd do with his life. But, I got on with my life. 36 years later, 52 years old, I'm sitting in rehab. And whenever anyone talks about a brother or something, I'm crying. I'm breaking down and crying. And one of the therapists said, you know, what's going on here? There's something going on re your brother. And I said, look, I don't know. I don't know. Because, you know, I'm in there for drug addiction, for cocaine addiction. So I'm all over the shop anyway. So they said, oh, we're going to do trauma treatment with you. So I went in with a therapist and we did this trauma treatment, and you go into this semi-meditative state. And he sort of said, like, go back to Rockhampton. You're in the house. Who's in the house? I said, Mum's in the house, Dad's in the house, Scott's in the house. And his therapist said, describe Kent. And I said, I had a mullet, full head of hair, you know, didn't have any fat on me, super fit with rugby and swimming and running and cricket and this, that and the other. You know, life is good. And then he said to me, would you like to say anything to Scott? And I just absolutely lost it. I just broke down crying and you know, everything. And I said, mate, I'm so sorry. I just said, I'm so sorry. I said, I couldn't save you. I just could not save you. I failed you in your hour of need. I could save you from the bullies, but I couldn't save you. And I just was just absolutely, I just broken. Just the tears and everything was coming out. And then the therapist said, is Scott talking to you? And I just sort of, you know, composed myself for a second. And then I smiled and I said, yeah, Scott said, mate, you got to let it go. It's done. It's over. You know, you couldn't have saved me. I was, you know, he said, you know, I wasn't a doctor. He said, you weren't a doctor. You got to let it go. And with some really weird stuff happened. I walked out of I was so drained. I walked out of this room and I was so drained. And there was these spotlights on the hall, and I was just walking along and thinking, I thought my head was going to touch the spotlight. So what do I think happened? I think there was some relief and some release of some stuff I was carrying deep, for want of better words, in my soul that I just think I had not addressed. And that was the first time in recovery that I realised that I was in there to stop drinking and drugging, or stop drugging. I had to stop drinking as a result of that. But it was the first time I realised that this concept of spirituality, that there was something in it. There was something a lot more than just putting down drink and drugs. That this program of recovery and 12 steps and Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, whatever, Overeaters Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, there's much more in it than just the presenting issue. So that was probably one of the things that I sort of realised, that I had an opportunity to live a different way. And I'm not talking about putting on Jesus sandals and going to the top of the hill and eating lentils and howling at the moon or da-da-da-da-da. I'm not talking about that. Or maybe that's your thing. What I'm talking about was I realised that life wasn't always about achievements. And my life was all about achievements. My life was about labels and achievements and identities and mask playing and role playing and acting. It was about materialism and medals and certificates and whatever. And then I realised that there was a spiritual side of world that I hadn't really understood nor embraced, about the beauty of nature, the beauty of love and connection between people. So, you know, that experience, I still miss Scott today. This is the first time I've ever spoken about that story and not got upset. So that's an interesting one. And I miss him, but I also understand, I've dealt with it. I've dealt with the loss. And I understand now that I think all of us have history, and there's influences and social conditions and things that happen in our life that sit within us that can be addressed, and you can get liberation and freedom from them. And, you know, where it takes me to, and just to conclude, I sat in rehab 4 days in rehab, and I was 10 stone. I was crying my eyes out, and I didn't know who I was. I knew what my CV read because it had all these labels and identities. But the reality was I was a cocaine addict. Now, I know who I am today. That's fine. I've worked that out. That's a personal journey for me. But the other thing I didn't understand was I didn't understand what life was about. I thought, what is it about? I sat in rehab and I thought, what is it about? Like, you know, I did the westernized thing. I did well at school. I went to university. I played rugby to a very high level. I got a good job. Shy of my 50th birthday, I had a number of properties in the UK, a number of properties in Australia. I had pension scheme, superannuation scheme, cash, shares, whatever. I've been all around the world. I had all these experiences, but I was sitting in rehab. And I don't think it was about, I think the big problem, I think the cocaine addiction was a symptom of something. And that was like a deep unfulfillment, a deep unhappiness. And so today, those that, follow me on, those that watch my stuff on social media will hear me say a lot. If you say to me, I just turned 60 recently. If you said to me, what's life about? Life is about love and connection. That's what life's about. Everything else is impermanent. Cars, houses, jobs, all that stuff you've got today, you're probably not going to be in years to come. And they'll come and go. And when you die, they'll go to someone else. But the deep, raw, personal, vibrant, colourful, strong love you have for another person, certainly family, right? And then friends. And that's the connection. That is what life is about today. For me, life is about love and connection.